Welcome to the Me and Money podcast, where your hosts and certified financial planners, Matt Fizell and Elliott Appel, share their thoughts on hot topics, important concepts, and real-life stories in personal finance. Hear from Matt and Elliott as they share lessons learned in their own financial journeys and those they've witnessed throughout their careers while helping clients. Have a question you'd like to hear discussed on a future episode of the podcast? You can reach out to Matt or Elliott or drop your question at the link listed in the show notes. Before we get to the episode, we'd like to remind you that while both Matt and Elliott are financial planners, they are not your financial planner, and this podcast is only intended for educational purposes. For full disclosures, please be sure to listen to the end of the episode or check out the show notes on your favorite podcast platform. Now, on to the show with your hosts, Matt Fizell and Elliott Appel.
Welcome back to another episode of the Me and Money podcast. Elliott, I know you're especially passionate about this topic today, so what are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, death and money. Everybody likes talking about that, right?
Yeah, all my clients love talking about their estate planning.
Yeah, so we're not going to talk about estate planning today, but we are going to talk about inheritances. And I think this is a crucial topic because I'm seeing this more. I think we're getting to the point where baby boomer generation are a little bit older. Their parents are starting to die off, and you really are seeing quite a bit of wealth be passed to that next generation. And I think it comes up for a lot of people, whether you're 25 or you're 75 receiving money. Okay, you just received a boatload of money that you didn't have yesterday. What do you do with it? What do you need to do? What are the steps from, hey, I just learned about this to it's mine, it's in my name. What comes next?
Yeah. It's so funny, not a funny topic, right? But I mean, I feel my whole career, which we're going into year 12 now, right? Where it's like, oh, the wealth transfer. And it's like, I actually think it is starting to happen now. I see a lot of this on Reddit, whether it's loss of a family member or maybe they were in some accident and they're getting a lump sum. So I think this could just be framed around sudden money, right? You're having a sudden money event. So maybe you did lose someone, maybe there's some other circumstances out there. We could probably do a separate one about huge stock windfall. But let's stick to I didn't expect this was coming and now this is coming, right?
Or even if you did. I mean, sometimes you expect it and it's still an emotional thing. And that's where I want to start. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but I think the first thing that you want to consider is taking a pause, right? Chances are if you got $1 million, $2 million, whatever it is from somebody, there was probably a close relationship there. And your brain's probably not operating at 100%. I know when I lost my dad and it was known that it was coming, we had lots of time to prepare. Obviously I work around money. It was still weird, right? It still felt strange to actually get the inheritance. And so I always tell folks to pause. It's not necessarily that you have to. I just think that being the default option is probably better than a bunch of big life changes with new money. See what it feels like, right? And see how you're doing emotionally 6 months or 12 months. It doesn't have to be a ton of time, but just take a pause before you make major life decisions. Again, it's not for everybody. If you know you want to make a major life decision and you're great, go for that. I'm not here to stop you. I just think for a lot of people, the default option should probably be take a pause, continue living life as you are, and then consider what this money can do and mean in terms of changes for your life.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think there's, for those of you listening who might not be there yet or aren't at all thinking that this is going to happen to you, I think a really good question to ask yourself and really just to understand where you're at right now. Because I agree with you. I think sometimes when we get into that grief and that transition, we're changing a lot. So then we think we need to change a lot. But I think a really good question to ask yourself now is what do I want to change about my life today? About my finances today? Because if those things are probably going to stick with you as you go through the transition. So maybe you're in a tough debt situation, right? Maybe you're not in a place that can house your family well, right? What would need to change to make that pain go away, right? Mm-hmm. And so, again, if you're in a tough living situation, or maybe you're in a 2-bedroom house and you need a 4-bedroom house, I think getting sudden money and going and buying the 4-bedroom house isn't the worst thing, but a lot of people tend to get that money and go buy the 6 or 7-bedroom house, right? And so just understanding like what your wants and needs are right now, I think can be a really good baseline for while you're going through that transition.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like create the financial plan to figure out what comes next and how best can that money be spent for that. And then how quickly do you want to do it?
Well, and more importantly, creating your financial plan, right? Not what someone else is telling you to do. Because, and again, I think Reddit overall is a positive thing for these types of situations. But at the same rate, you're having a lot of strangers who know nothing about you or your values, like inputting what they think you should do with millions of dollars. And what they're going to actually tell you is what they think they should do with your $1 million or $2 million, right? And
wrap the episode there.
I don't remember who told me this, but it's a lot easier to spend other people's money, right? Like,
for sure.
Oddly enough, like that's kind of what we do for a living, right? Like we help other people spend their money. But I think just like really, a pause is great just to get through, figure out like what the new normal is, like who are you going to be on the other side of this big life event? Like a lot of times that's when we're asking ourselves like some pretty existential questions and like maybe can make some changes. I think you're right. Like just pause unless there's like an immediate crisis that needs to be put out. But, being comfortable in a 4-bedroom house and wanting a 6-bedroom house is not a crisis. That's for sure.
Yeah. And most of these choices are still going to be there in 3 months, 6 months, anything. And it's not, for most situations, not going to make a huge difference if you do it now versus then. Yes, there are some smaller things that will change. And for some people, there will be larger. I'm making some generalization because, again, we're internet strangers. We don't know you, but we've worked with enough people. We've read enough stuff that these are some ideas or some frameworks to think about it.
Yeah. Don't make a non-urgent decision in urgent situation, right?
Yeah.
You're already going through enough stress.
That's a better way to put it. Next, though, I would take inventory. Like, what are you actually getting in terms of an inheritance? I know some people are like, well, I'm getting X number of dollars, but they're not quite sure. Is that a bank account? Is that a house? Is that a rental property? Is that a 401k? Is that an annuity? Is that a non-qualified annuity? A qualified annuity?
Is it a farm?
Is it a farm? Yeah. all these things. And we're sort of laughing here because all these have very different tax consequences, timelines for getting the money, right? A farm might take a lot longer to sell than receiving a bank account. A 401k is going to have different taxation than, say, a Roth IRA and different distribution schedules. So this is where taking an inventory is really important to just understand what are you actually getting and what does that mean after taxes. And we'll get to the tax piece in a second. But the tax planning piece becomes really important in inheritance before you start randomly signing paperwork, which I see a lot of people do, which I don't fault them. We don't have a lot of education around this stuff, but sometimes we just select that lump sum cash distribution and we get it. And then all of a sudden we owe a bunch of money in tax that we didn't anticipate.
Yeah. And, I hope as we continue to go forward that these conversations become more normal before the event happens.
Please talk about it before.
Yeah. And that's something where, again, I don't think you really need to know, like, it's $1,137,000. Like, you don't need to know exacts, right? But if you know, it's like, it's probably going to be $1 million or more. Like, it's going to be an IRA. Like, there are things you can start doing before that will help lessen those problems, right? And not only for yourself while you're still alive, but also for the inheritor who may be listening to this episode, right? And so I would encourage you to try to have some conversation. You don't have to have like by all accounts, like every dollar is accounted for in the ledger. But if you know like roughly what's coming, that's going to help everyone. It's also going to give you like a heads up on what you're in for when the time comes, because it can be a marathon and it can be exhausting.
Yeah. I'd love to do multi-generational tax planning. I mean, I'm always sort of prodding people to have those conversations because it does make a big difference in how you're going to do it. Maybe even what the person you love who's passed away or is going to pass away, how they structure things. So the taxation is a big piece there. Not every dollar of inheritance is created equal after taxes. And that's just something, if we're talking about the 4-bedroom house versus the 6-bedroom house, right? If you think you're getting $1 million, but maybe after taxes, it's only 700,000, that might inform those decisions a little bit differently. And that's why that pause can also be helpful to be able to create this inventory, better understand what it is. And then how are you actually, if you need the funds now versus 5 years or some distribution schedule, you can start to model out and do that financial and tax planning piece of how do I actually turn these funds from this inheritance I just got to realigning them to my goals and my dreams, if it's a 4-bedroom house or if it's retirement or whatever.
Yeah. No, I would agree 100% with that. Okay, what else would you suggest here, Elliott, for this situation?
I think then it becomes, and we sort of hit on it there, of like, what do you do with it once you actually get it, right? What are the options? And I think that's where it gets really fun, but it gets really complicated too, because it's one of those weird things where the more flexibility you have in life, the harder it is sometimes to make decisions. I mean, someone told me the other day, like, I specifically keep our money low because it forces creativity. Like it forces us to live a certain lifestyle, and that, kudos to them for knowing what's important to them. But then also, like, what does this open up? And I also don't want people to necessarily live like far below their means if they don't want to, right? Sometimes we're ingrained, if we grow up in a frugal family and maybe your parents did a really good job saving, and maybe they end up dying with $2.5 million, and it's a total shock to everybody because it's like, they would drive around to grocery stores to figure out the best price. They drive here for gas, like one of those types of families. And then all of a sudden you get $2.5 million. Is that the same existence and life that you want to live? Or do you want to actually change it to use this money more fully, or as legacy goals and passing it on to your children or charity or whatever? That's where you get to sort of create this different, new, however you want to call it, self. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it goes back to the point I was making at the start, like, know thyself, right? I think that's the hardest. It's really kind of the hardest question because you have to ask yourself, and you can't really hide from the answers, right? Well, you can, but deep down, you'll know you're hiding from that answer. I mean, I think it really goes down to, like, if you know what you want today, you probably will know what you want when you have $2.5 million. Like, the way you go about it may change, right? Yeah. Like, this is maybe I want to go to Italy, but now I can afford to go first class. Like, great, right? Yeah. If you can, but also I'm going to pick on myself here, right? Like, I would probably buy a new car, but I would not buy like a fancy car because that's not me. I really don't care, like, whatever, right? And I think a lot of people fall into that trap, though, where they don't know what they want. They see, like, how other people are spending their money, and they mirror that, and they end up buying stuff that they don't really care about and not spending money on the thing they really care about. And that's where I think you're spot on with being able to make more decisions, right? And I think a lot of times with that, those types of situations where you're inheriting real life-changing money, sometimes the ability to do something turns into I have to or I should be doing this thing, when in reality the biggest, like, benefit of being wealthy and being financially independent is that you can make choices. You're not forced to make one, but that can also be exhausting. It can lead to, like, misguided financial decisions. It can lead to lifestyle creep. It can lead to a number of not so positive things too.
Yeah. All that's spot on. I think it's worth spending just a few moments to just sort of go down a list of, like, what are some things you could spend money on? And I'm going to maybe go more practical first, and then we can go more fun. But I just want to hit on estate plan, right? If you don't have an estate plan, you got this money because hopefully the person who left it to you had a good estate plan and didn't leave a mess to you or executors or other beneficiaries. Now's the time to update it, probably.
And I want to pause right there because I heard this from an attorney, and I'm going to use it here on out. If you don't have an estate plan, there is one for you, but the government has it written for you, and I bet you're not going to like it. So don't think about it. Go do it unless you want the government to tell you what is going to happen.
Yeah. This is also a good time to revisit your own retirement savings potentially. This could be a situation, and it sounds sort of counterintuitive, but I've seen this work where maybe you're getting a bank or a brokerage account with minimal tax consequences and you want to live off those assets and actually contribute more to your retirement account. So you increase your withholding, you lower your after-tax, your income coming in. Maybe you were pulling in $5,000 a month and you bring that down to $3,000 or $2,000 and you live off some of the inheritance. It sounds really strange at first, but it's a way to get more money that might grow after tax into greater wealth that way. So actually using some of the inheritance to increase your savings, depending on if you're choosing to be retired or not at that point, depending on the inheritance level and your own wants and needs, that could be super helpful. I also think this is where you can start to think about giving money, whether that's just straight annual gift tax exclusion amounts, higher amounts, funding a 529 plan, super funding a 529 plan for kids, grandkids, depending on your ages. You can really start to make the most of this, right? I'm running into a situation a lot more with clients these days where they're fully retired, they're financially independent, and they don't necessarily need the inheritance that they're receiving. So it's like, how do we, and we've talked about this, I think, at the pizza episode of, how much pizza do you need? How much money? Like, how do we fast forward these gifts and transform them sooner so then our kids or grandkids aren't getting millions of dollars at a time where it's less meaningful?
Yeah. If you want to hear the 529 debate, you can go back to episode 48. And then Elliott was talking about episodes 44 and 45 with his pizza analogy. So be sure to go back and listen to those if you haven't. I would agree with a lot of that. I think too, I think stepping into retirement I think it's really daunting for a lot of people.
100%.
But I have seen people who have inherited money and it gives them the freedom to take a pay cut and go do the job that they've always wanted to do. I can't stress that enough. You're going to want to do something to fill your time. I honestly think if you have unlimited time, you run more of a risk of falling into some of those lifestyle traps or maybe chasing, satisfaction with spending on things you don't want to do. But I bet almost everyone has a dream job or something, if money were no question, right? What would you spend your time doing? I have a client right now, she wants to retire in a few years and go work at a funeral home. She's just always been really fascinated with morgues and how that all goes down and morticians. And it's cool. I wouldn't want to do that, but I'm glad you want to do that. And you want to do that. But if there's, I don't know, if you want to go work at, the golf course and be a groundskeeper or go work at the zoo, I don't know, whatever your thing is, right?
Yeah.
It's probably being able to reduce your income and just have more flexibility in what you do for a living and how you want to spend your day to day.
Yeah. I've also seen it, which is really cool to see when people reach that financial independence point of basically just renegotiating their job and getting rid of all the things they don't enjoy about it and keeping the things that they do. And because they're not afraid of getting fired because they don't need the income, all of a sudden, I've seen that work a lot of times where they're keeping the same salary, but they've just recreated the job that they like again. And it becomes more palatable. So all the flexibility is a cool thing there.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point. And probably now that you said it that way, looking back, I feel like the actual gap between where people are and where they want to be is quite small, but there's such this large financial change that it feels we have to start making bigger changes because we have bigger numbers.
Yeah.
And I think the smaller changes you can make, probably are more sustainable and are going to be much more enjoyable than, turning into a private jet flying casino, spend in person. So
yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I would throw out charitable giving too. I think this is a good time to revisit, if you are charitably inclined, how you want to structure that, particularly from a tax perspective going forward. that would be another like should to or want to think about maybe. And then the last one for me is just fun. I mean, my mom encouraged me at times to take a small chunk, and you can define what small means to you, and just go do something that you normally wouldn't do, right? Whether it's buying something that is meaningful to that person, to, taking that first class trip to Italy, whatever it is, go enjoy the money and do something that you wouldn't normally do, because in a way, it's not great to treat separate money as different, but in a way, this is an opportunity to do that in a fun way that you otherwise probably wouldn't.
Yeah. Big fan. Even if you're not inheriting money, like building in some guilt-free spending money, like really helps.
Yeah, it
really does. But you have to be able to afford it.
I'm curious, Matt, do you have ways to build that in, whether it's inheritance or not, to make it truly guilt-free? Because I think for a lot of people, they want to, but it still feels a little guilty.
Yeah, I mean, again, it starts with here we go, using the B word. Like you gotta have budget, right? You have to understand like what's coming in, what's going out. But Allison and I do this. We call it like she always shows me these Instagrams where it's like girl math, right? Like if I buy this $50 thing and return it for $50, I just made $50, like that kind of thing. So it kind of turned into a joke, but like we just call it our girl and our boy money. Like it's, it goes into its own separate checking account. Like, I mean, we're not buying anything nefarious or sketchy with it, but like once it goes there, it's off the books, and whatever you buy with it, like it's what you buy with it.
Great. So separate account and building it in.
Yeah. But I mean, it's separate but transparent. Like I just want to be cautious. Like don't be hiding things from your spouse. Like we still talk about those things, right? But it's not like, oh, like I can't believe you spent $300 on that. It's like, oh, is your girl money? Like awesome. Like good for you,
Good clarification. I would hope people were not going down that path, but good clarification.
Well, money infidelity is like the number one cause of divorce. So just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. But I think too, like at a minimum, and I know we're financial advisors and we benefit from this, but it's like, if you're really coming into a lot of money, like please, for the love of God, like go talk to someone, like a professional who's not telling you like all these tax loopholes on TikTok. Like even if it's just a project plan, like you are going to benefit so much from this. And even if it costs you a few $1,000s, like a few $1,000s on $1 million or $2 million is like less than 1%, right? So just go spend less than 1% of your money to spend the other 99% as well as you possibly can, so you don't have to ever worry about it again.
Yeah. Or if you really don't want to worry about it, you could also hire someone on an ongoing basis, right? I think you're throwing out the cheap option, but I'll go the more expensive route of sometimes we just want to hire and not think about that, or have a partner to think about it with. So
yeah. I mean, when I'm freaking out, I always ask you questions, right? So
that's true. And vice versa. So
yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, like just don't, it is hard. And as a recovering, frugal person, and probably forever will be, right? It's just, you got to get over it. Like you're going to cause yourself so much more stress if you don't talk to someone about it, and just go find someone that you trust and doesn't sell insurance to you. Anything else, Elliott?
No, I think that's a good way to wrap up with the inheritance.
All right. Always good to chat, and see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Me and Money podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Have a question you'd like to suggest for a future episode? Drop Matt or Elliott a question at their email, or use the linked form in the show notes. Like what you heard? It would be a tremendous help to us in our mission of having real conversations about personal finance by leaving us a review on your favorite podcast app. A few words can go a long way in connecting those looking for content like ours on their app of choice. You can also support the show by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thanks again for listening, and be on the lookout for future episodes soon.
The Me and Money podcast is hosted and produced by Harmony Outsourcing Services LLC. Matt Fizell is an investment advisor representative of Harmony Wealth L.L.C. Elliott Appel is an investment advisor representative of Kindness Financial Planning LLC. However, the views and opinions expressed by Matt and Elliott in this podcast are not intended as individualized investment advice on behalf of Harmony or Kindness, or as tax, accounting, or legal advice. Although we gather information from sources that we deem to be reliable, we cannot guarantee the accuracy, timeliness, or completeness of any information prepared by any unaffiliated third party. When specific investments or types of investments are mentioned, such mention is not intended to be a recommendation or endorsement to buy or sell the specific investment. Harmony is a registered investment advisor authorized to do business in the states of Wisconsin and Texas and other jurisdictions where exempted. Kindness is a registered investment advisor authorized to do business in Wisconsin and Washington and in other jurisdictions where exempted. Registration as a registered investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. This website contains links to the Harmony and Kindness websites that provide general information about the advisory services offered by Harmony and Kindness. These links are provided as a convenience only. Harmony and Kindness can only provide individualized services after you sign an agreement and receive required disclosures. Users of this website may, but are not required to, engage the services of Harmony or Kindness for advisory services. Please remember that all investments involve varying degrees of risk, and the future performance of any specific investment or investment strategy is not guaranteed to be profitable or equal to any historical performances. As a final note, we'd encourage you to reach out to your financial professionals before implementing any of the strategies or concepts discussed in this podcast. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.